Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from Ncaa, and make sure you hit that like button. We are now here for the off season, and this off season is all about getting better because we had 4 losses last year. We definitely want to improve on that, and this has been a big year. I mean, think about it. We went from being 2 seasons straight with pretty much a losing record, and now we go to a bowl game and win for our first time, and we actually end the season ranked number 25 after beating Ohio. So we are actually ranked, so that's not bad. So looking at the BCS championship, Notre Dame does barely beat Arizona 30-27, and they stay undefeated as Brandon Wimbush gets the victory in that one. And I mean, just an all-around great season for Coastal. So let's just look at our season stats here to end the season. So Kashawn Curtin had a solid season, 20 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Wesley David only played 2 games of action during the whole season. But looking at our rushing attack, Tyron Summers, look at the difference between last year and this year. He runs for 1,825 touchdowns total, 6.1 yards per carry, and 140 yards per game. I mean, that is just big. That's real big. And Jimbo Brown wasn't bad in his redshirt freshman season, but it's just the difference, the combo of him and Summers definitely made a difference. He ran for 432. But behind that, I mean, nobody else ran for 100 yards. So looking at the receiving corps, Sam Forbes led the way in, I believe, receiving yards and receptions and touchdowns. So the senior comes through, and hopefully he will make it to the next level. Looking at Tyron Summers, he was actually a beast in the receiving game as well. He finished third on our team in receiving yards. Justin Johnson, he got 552, 2 touchdowns. Harrison, the freshman, remember the 3-star walk-on freshman, he got 452, 2 touchdowns. Jack Cluck and Angel Gonzalez, they had a solid season as well. So looking at our offensive line, let's see who gave up the most sacks, because we do need to replace some guys. Looking at Kareem Lakes, he was our starting right guard. He gave up 7 sacks. He's a senior, 65 overall. We will need to replace him. Looking at the rest of the guys, they didn't do too bad. I mean, I don't want to say they did horrible. We definitely could have cleaned up on some stuff, but I don't think anybody did horrible on our offensive line. I got to admit it. So looking at the defense, Ryan Marshall led the way in tackles. Alan King is right behind him. But, you know, one thing that I do note here is that Alan King had more tackles for losses than Ryan Marshall did. So I feel like Ryan Marshall, even though he did lead our team in tackles, he had a little bit of a down year. And he is a senior, so he is moving on. So we will need to replace him. Cedric Granger will be a senior next year as well. Chris Thornton had 6 sacks from the middle linebacker position. That's pretty good. Malik Gray had a good year. Let's look at his ratings here. Let's look at his stats. Interceptions, he had 2. Does it say deflections? So he had 3. I think he had more than that, though. I think NCAA kind of cheats you out of deflections. Looking at Norman, he had a pretty good season as well. 7 interceptions, so he definitely led our team in that category. Let's just go down the list here. Saxon had a good season. He had 5 sacks in his first year starting. Danny Armstead, he's going to be gone as well. He had 7 sacks, and I believe he did lead our team. So yeah, he led our team in sacks, 1 ahead of Chris Thornton. So it's going to be, I mean, a little bittersweet. Maybe he'll make it to the next level. Maybe end up in our Redskin series. You never know. But moving on to the next level, he'll try that route. Chris Thornton, maybe, I don't know. But looking at the rest of our guys here, let's just sort by tackling again. Looking at some of the guys that are probably going to earn some more playing time come next year. Derek Armstrong is one of those guys. He had a solid season in his redshirt freshman year. He's only 61 overall. I expect that to get a lot better. Looking at London Welshman, I thought he was going to have a little bit more of an impact as a freshman, but he did not. He only had 1 sack, 13 solo tackles. But looking at Keir Patterson, he did pretty good in his first year starting, but keep going down the line. Robert Johnson's there. Just a lot of guys that will eventually get in that should have had better years. Maybe if they would have got in more, but that's how it goes. Sometimes you play based on who's in front of you too. Kenneth Ruff actually got off to a really fast start and then cooled off. He had no sacks on the year, and he was actually in on a lot of pass rushing situations. Kind of surprising. So it turns out we actually do have two people transferring from our school, Steven Johnson and Andrew Chapman, and we're not going to stop them. I mean, I don't like to convince guys to stay. I feel like it's not realistic. If a guy wants to transfer in real life, they can transfer. So I'm just going to let them walk, but it's unfortunate that they'll walk. So we didn't have any people drafted at all. That wasn't a surprise at all, but we do have a couple of transfers. John Outlaw coming over from Idaho, and he was a true freshman. I guess he wants more playing time. He sees it more here, and he's a decent guy. He's only 65 overall, but I imagine that the training will help that. Looking at receiver is a much needed thing right now, and this guy is definitely going to help. Darrell Pruitt, he's a 6-foot freshman. He's 94 speed, so he's definitely going to be our fastest guy on the team right now, along with Tyron Summers. So those two are going to be the fastest. But look at his route running is 77. I mean, he's pretty solid. I got to admit it, he's pretty solid. I like that transfer. Then one more, another freshman from West Virginia, 67 overall. He's 90 speed, 89 acceleration, Andre Jenkins. And you look at his coverage skills, it's okay. I mean, I think he can get better. He actually is pretty good in press too, 81. He's got 90 speed, so we get the transfers. So looking at our recruiting class, these guys will all be renamed to guys that you guys did submit before. But looking at who, I guess, the template of the players are going to be, looking at our, guys that are already committed to the school. And, recruiting is tricky in the offseason. And the main reason is why is because when you add new prospects to the board in the offseason, I've never seen a guy commit to the school after you just added them to the board. In the offseason, you usually have to have them. They usually have to have some type of interest in your school. You can't just, put all your points on one guy, just adding him to the board. But I just want to look at the recruits really quick just to show you guys who we did sign. So looking at Caleb Smith, he's a receiver, 67 overall. Our highest rated guy that we did get to commit is a kicker, Jason Rhodes, 82 kick power, 82 kick accuracy, and it's definitely going to help us because we always had to go for fourth down conversions inside of the 35-yard line because we knew our kicker couldn't hit those. But hopefully with a new kicker we can definitely hit those. Looking at Marcus Washington, he's an athlete. I believe he's kind of a defensive end. We'll see. I think, I'm pretty sure he's a defensive end. Looking at Byron Pruitt, he's a receiver, I believe. And looking at his catching, 75. Obviously he is a receiver because he's not an athlete. I thought he was, but he's a receiver catching at 75. He's decent in route running, but his speed is really low. Looking at Lance Folks, I believe this guy is a safety. I want to see for sure. His catching is at 74. They're going to make him look good at receiver, but I just don't see it. I see the pursuit up a little bit, the zone coverage. I don't know if he'll play at all this coming season, but we'll see. So Ross Outlaw, he's definitely our best tackler. He comes in at 81 tackling. He already committed to the school, and he's going to be, I believe he's going to be a defensive lineman as well. He might be a defensive end too. He's got 70 finesse moves, 81 tackling. So that's going to be pretty good to have on our defensive line. We definitely need some people who can get after the ball. Now, speaking of getting after the ball, CJ Scott is a pretty good recruit as well. Chris Novak's pretty good on the offensive line. And then Eric Brown, he's 80 speed, 81 acceleration. He's got 84 tackling. He's going to probably be our best tackler. And I don't know exactly what he's going to be. Let's look at his build. He's 6'1", 219. So he has a lot of offensive skills, 80 speed, 81 acceleration. He has ball carrier skills. But, I do kind of like him on defense because we do have some guys on offense that we already have the athletes there. So let's look at the guys that we're potentially putting points into, starting with George Hill. Now, we're probably going to get him, and we're ahead 2,000. So I'm gonna put about 2,000 on him, and I want to move on to the next guy because I'm pretty sure we will have him locked up. Will White, up 2,000 again. We'll probably have him locked up. Drew Thompson, up 2,000. Tony Wilson, up 1,600. David Robertson. I mean, all these guys we kind of have in the bag, but let's just put these points on these guys and see if we get them. So look at this, we don't even get every single one of those recruits. We only get 2 of them. So George Hill does commit. He's going to come in at 69 overall, and then Will White. So we lose the rest of those commits, and we're going to have to take a look at where we rank. So we end up getting the 94th ranked class. And remember, you guys might be saying, why aren't you going after better guys? And if you follow this series the whole time, you know that I put the recruiting restriction on us. We couldn't get anybody greater than 700. And there's a reason, because I do want to make this a hard rebuild. But look at this, we are at 2 prestige now. So we do go up in our prestige to 2-star. So that's a good sign going into next season. We're definitely going to need it there. So now we get to the position changes, and we first want to focus on these athletes because we want to see what they're good at and what they're going to be listed at. So going through the positions for each of these guys, you can see Ross Outlaw, I mean, he looks like he's best fitted as a center. So let's just look at his pass blocking, run blocking ratings as we move down the line, and he's pretty good. I mean, if you look at this, he's 75 pass blocking. Looking at Eric Brown, even he's pretty good at pass blocking. And then looking at Marcus Washington down here, he's a good pass blocker and run blocker. So you know what? I mean, we might as well bolster this offensive line. Put Ross Outlaw there. Let's see what Marcus Washington is, because I'm curious now to see how good of an offensive lineman he is as well. And he's pretty good as well. So, you know, we do have a hole at guard. Let's put him at guard and see where that takes us. So let's go to Eric Brown, the athlete. So looking at running back, he's 76 overall as a running back, and he's actually 71 overall as a tight end. So let's keep going to defense here. Let's see what we can get out of him on the defense. So he's pretty good actually at safety as well, 72 overall. But so let's look at tight end. Let's see what we got at tight end. So it looks like we're gonna need some help there, definitely. So you know what, I think I might move him to tight end. Let's see what his receiving ratings are, and let's see where he matches up there. Let's go to cancel here. So he's got 75 strength. He's 6'1", 219. So he'll be a smaller tight end. But if you look at his ratings, stiff arm ratings at 92, and his route running is actually kind of decent. 70 for a tight end is actually all right, but his tackling at 84. We're gonna be wasting that tackling rating. And let's just see if I put him at linebacker even. Let's just see. I'm interested to see my middle linebackers. Let's see if he would even compete for a job. So it looks like he'd be the only one there unless I move one of these other guys to middle linebacker. But I don't think any of these guys are pure middle linebackers at all. I think maybe CJ Scott is. I think CJ Scott might be a middle linebacker a little bit, but I don't know. Let's just look at his pass rushing moves. Let's just look at CJ Scott's pass rushing moves and see if he's a pass rusher. So he doesn't really have anything here that would suggest that he's a pass rusher. I mean, not much different than the guys below him. So I think I might move him to middle linebacker because I am going to need some help there. But let's go back over to our athletes. I think that Eric Brown, with that 82 tackling, I am going to move him to middle linebacker as well. Just because, you know, I do need that help at linebacker. Lance Folks, let's see what he does, because he didn't really have the run blocking or pass blocking that the other guys did, and I kind of thought this guy would be kind of a safety, so I'm gonna put him at strong safety. He's probably gonna get redshirted at 64 overall. So you know what, let's advance to the training stage and then we'll go over the roster. But actually, before I do advance, I did want to show you guys what it would be like to change Garrison Burnett's position, because I know you guys said that he's a quarterback, but you look at his ratings, he's only a 65 overall quarterback at 68 overall wide receiver. But I wanted to show you guys something that's real funny. Look at this, he's a 73 overall left end. How is that even possible? At 5'10", 190, he's a 73 overall right end as well, and a 70 overall defensive tackle. I have no idea how that's even possible. Let's look at our D tackles. I mean, that would be pretty funny to have a little stick up there at defensive tackle. And I mean, it's funny because he would be our best rated defensive tackle. And look at this, we need left end as well. I mean, should we just do it just to see? I mean, he's literally 100 pounds lighter than Kenneth Ruff, and that would be hilarious to see him there. But I don't think I'll do it, just because It's not realistic for a 190-pound defensive end to be on the field, so let's not do that. But I do maybe want to move him over to a safety position. Nah, probably not. Let's just keep him at receiver. I think I still like him there. He is our best rated receiver, so hopefully he can get better in that department as well. So now looking at the rest of these players after trending results, you see our quarterback position is going to be interesting. And looking at the transfers, Kevin Black, Parker, they're going to be competing for the starting job with Keshawn Curtin. I mean, to be honest, I like Curtin a lot. He's been our starter, but it's hard to deny just better players at the position. If you look at Kevin Black, I mean, he's 6 foot 212. I think the one thing that Keshawn Curtin has over both of them is the size, but it's hard to deny that he is the best thrower on our team. Let's just look at the athleticism too. Keshawn Curtin's got him a little bit. He's got him 66 speed to 57. That's definitely a big factor there. So looking at Tyron Summers, he goes up to 85 overall for his senior season, 93 speed. Jimbo Brown did pretty good, as well as Keith Syracuse Jr., who's now a senior. So we have almost cycled through 4 years, at least one class of players going into this year. I expect Sean Johnson, actually, after his redshirt season, to probably get some looks on special teams. We'll see how that goes. So looking at the receiver position, Pruitt does come in and train, and look at him. He is the transfer. He does get to train. 95 speed. That's pretty good. Looking at Garrison Burnett, let's just see it. All these receiving ratings here. Once we look at speed and stuff, Angel Gonzalez goes up a little bit. He's going into his junior year. But looking at the receiving skills here, looks like Burnett still at 63 catching. I mean, it's really, really low, so we're definitely running a risk playing him. Justin Johnson, though, goes up to 79 catching. Mike Harrison goes up to 78. Looking at route running, Pruitt is our best route runner on the team that is behind Mike Harrison. So Mike Harrison's actually going to play a big role here. I don't know who's going to play in the slot consistently. I imagine that Angel Gonzalez is going to play there most of the time. We'll see, but I do not want to play Garrison Burnett if he's going to drop passes. So looking at tight end, it's kind of a clear-cut battle here. I think Kleck is going to be there, Dixon's going to play, and then Dunlap's going to back him up. Looking at our offensive linemen, they go up quite a bit. We're not going to go into detail with that. It's kind of boring. But then let's look at the ends here. So John Outlaw, the transfer, he goes up to 68 overall. Peter Gonzalez goes up to 69 overall. Kier Patterson goes up to 67 as well. Hopefully they get better as this year goes on, because I'm trying to see some more sacks in this dynasty, because I don't have a pure pass rusher. I don't have a double-digit sack guy yet, and hopefully one of those guys can earn it. So looking at the rest of these guys, Chris Thornton goes up a little bit. He's looking to have another big year as an All-American. But looking at the cornerback position, we pretty much have everybody returning. I thought we would have somebody leaving, but we don't actually. So Malik Great and Orlando Norman are both seniors. Xavier Davis is going to his junior year. Brandon Jones is going to his junior year. And I believe those four will be the top corners going into this year. Looking at free safety, Allen King goes up to 66 overall. Derek Armstrong as well. I feel like Derek Armstrong is actually going to get in a lot at middle linebacker, because we don't have the looks there that we thought we would have. We don't have the depth. So at middle linebacker, definitely look out for Derek Armstrong next year. Cedric Granger is going to be our best defender, 77 overall on the defensive back end. I definitely believe that he's going to have an All-American season, hopefully at least contending for an All-American spot. So we do have about 9 spots to cut. So we have a ton of guys at each position. We're going to have to make some cuts. So Reese Van Noy is going to have to get cut. I don't think he's going to play pretty much at all. I still do want to see DJ Warren in there. He was one of our big recruits last season. Will White, the freshman, I like him. I do have to probably cut another wide receiver. So I think it's going to be between John Reed III. I don't think I can see him playing at all. And then Will White. And I think it's going to be actually Will White. And the reason why is because I just don't think he's going to play at all, because even when he does get the time to play, I think there's just going to be guys ahead of him. Even though he is 64 overall and better than John Reed, I feel like John Reed might get in sometime this year. So I did cut it down to 70. Some guys to note that did still make the squad, starting with Trey Jefferson. He's the redshirt freshman. He's at defensive end. James Burks, the big defensive tackle out of Florida. He's 60 overall only, but he's going to need to play a role maybe even next season. We'll see, as Ruff is a senior. And then looking at our linebacker position, it's kind of messy a little bit. George Hill is our best outside linebacker as a freshman, and he's going to get renamed, like I said, so don't worry about the name right now. But looking at middle linebacker, I cannot cut this Lamar Moore. It would put us below the minimum for middle linebacker, but CJ Scott's there. Eric Brown's also there. One of them will likely get redshirted. I don't know which one. We'll see. But I did have to make some tough decisions, but for the most part, the guys that you guys know in this series are still on the squad. So looking at our schedule going into next season, this will be the 4th season of this Coastal Carolina Dynasty. And we're going to play these out-of-conference ranked teams, starting out with Tennessee on the road to open the season. And that's going to be a big one going up against SEC school. Then Duke at home. Duke is ranked number 17. I'm interested to see why they are so good now and who they have on their squad, because Duke is definitely not a football school. We all know that. But then looking at our non-conference schedule, to round it out, only 3 non-conference schools. Alabama on the road. Alabama number 18 in the nation. That's going to be an interesting game, and especially since we know how dominant Alabama is, it's going to be interesting. But looking at the rest of the conference here, it's pretty standard here. The Sun Belt Conference, we play pretty much the same, I guess the same looks like order, because we end the season on East Carolina. They may just be with us, but hey, I mean, it looks like pretty much the same. So let's just look at these red shirts really quick, and we'll hop into the season next episode. So going through these red shirts, Landon Morris, I believe he was actually a walk-on. He commits to our school, 83 speed, 89 acceleration. He's definitely not going to play this season. Looking at freshmen here, Caleb Smith is a freshman. We are going to redshirt him. He does come in at 91 speed, but I feel like we have that speed in Garrison Burnett, and Pruitt is a transfer, but we also have that speed with Justin Johnson, but he's 89 speed, and we definitely want to redshirt Pruitt as well. Smith and Pruitt, they're going to get redshirted. So going through the line, I do want to kind of redshirt Ross Outlaw, and I also want to redshirt Washington. They're both going to be the future at the offensive lineman positions. Novak at tackle, he's going to get redshirted as well. Pretty much all the freshmen are going to get redshirted because, I mean, if you think about it, we don't really have a backup plan. You see, we have plenty of seniors on this squad. I think the only freshman that is not going to get redshirted is George Hill. I don't know. Should I redshirt him? Let me just look to see the difference between him and Oliver Saxon. So Saxon is way smarter. 70 awareness compared to 54. That's actually a pretty big difference. Looking at anything else, I just want to see if George Hill does anything way better than Oliver Saxon. I just don't see that he does. Oliver Saxon is a sophomore, so they are going to have to compete for a few years at least. But it does look like, you know, George Hill could possibly be redshirted. But I'm going to actually keep him unredshirted because I want to see, you know, just in case Saxon starts doing bad or something like that, I want to see them switching in and out. So I am going to redshirt Lamar Moore. He's not going to play anywhere. He's only 40 overall. But looking at the two here, CJ Scott and Eric Brown, I believe I am going to redshirt CJ Scott strictly because of that awareness. Look at how low the awareness is on CJ Scott, 33, and on Eric Brown at 61. I mean, that's definitely a huge difference, and I think it's enough for me, regardless of what the other ratings are, to redshirt him. So we're going to actually redshirt CJ Scott. So going over to the other positions, London Welshman's there. Not too many guys to redshirt. Lance Folks, you know what? I'm going to redshirt him as well because Cedric Granger's there along with Robert Johnson. So this is going to be an interesting season. I can't lie. It's going to be really interesting to see a lot of new starters, and I don't even know who's going to start at quarterback. I do want to keep Curtin out there, and I think I will because he's the senior, but I believe, Kevin Black, I think, has a bright future with this squad as a redshirt sophomore. So that's going to do it for this episode. Let me know what you guys think of the squad. I mean, we have a lot of returning starters as well as a couple of new ones possibly on defense. We'll see. But, our quarterback's going to be pretty much the same unless Kevin Black does take his spot. Running backs the same. Receivers will be a little bit different. No Sam Forbes. Tight ends will be the same. Offensive line will be a little bit different, but it's going to be interesting. So we're going up against a tough schedule this year. 3 ranked opponents in our non-conference schedule. So hit subscribe, hit that like button. We'll be back for the next episode. So stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.